moment. And I always say this, it is just me and my mic. It is not you. Your privacy is of the utmost importance, and practice how you feel most comfortable. When you are ready, set up your seat on your mat, remove any shrubberies that might be on the mat, and let's get cozy. All right. I definitely have been walking around my studio with my shoes on, I can tell. So in seated classes, traditionally and just habitually, I start out in Sukhasana. You do not have to start out cross-legged. You might widen your stance to create some space for the belly and low back. You might extend the legs with a little space between them to secure a strong foundation here. But we're going to start our practice with some ease. So find a posture that brings some relief to the low back and the belly. Something that you feel like you can sit in for a while without causing your body to ache. And then my little trick that I always say is, if you can't find that, if you're struggling to find that while you're seated, put another blanket up underneath you or a folded towel. The higher that we lift our hips up or our ischium, our sits bones up off the floor, the easier it is to align the low vertebra of our spine and sit with ease. So once you find your seat, you might let your gaze diffuse or your eyes close. And we'll take a moment to invite our mind's awareness down into our physical body. And you might notice, are there any areas of your body that are sore today? Maybe that are carrying injury or in the process of healing? Anything that you'd like to honor with gentleness and awareness in your practice today. And so just take note of those areas of your body, if there are any. You might, in your mind's eye, notice if they're carrying sensation in this moment. We make a commitment this morning to act with compassion and care for these places of our body, knowing that our body is always working for our highest good. It's always doing the best that it knows how to do with the tools that it has. And so we'll give our body that same effort today. We're going to do our best to show up with the tools that we have, knowing that leading with love and compassion are some of the biggest, most powerful tools. All right, from here, I invite you, if you'd like, to place a hand on the solar plexus. The solar plexus is the area of the belly just above the belly button and just below the rib cage. And if you place your hand or your arm over this area of the body, notice the sensation that arises there. Maybe you feel the temperature of your arm against the solar plexus. Maybe you feel that gentle pressure. The solar plexus is home to our solar plexus chakra. And in ancient yogic beliefs, this energy wheel is a part of the energy body. And when it's spinning, when energy is moving freely through this chakra, we feel confident. We feel confidence in how we express ourselves. This is the I can chakra, I am chakra, I will chakra. This is the chakra that moves us forward. It's where we know we have what it takes. And so when this chakra is blocked, we can struggle with those things, with direction, with our motivation, with our confidence. And so this morning's practice, however short, is dedicated to the opening, the stretching, the mobility in this area of the body. And as you sit here, you might activate the solar plexus chakra already. On an inhale, from this area of the solar plexus, rise up through the length of the spine by pressing through the top of the head. Feel the stretch through the solar plexus. And then as you exhale, melt the shoulders from the ears. Let's do that again. On an inhale, we lift up from the solar plexus. rising through the top of the head as we exhale, melt the shoulders from the ears. And so during our practice today, we will be lifting from this place of our solar plexus all the time, and I'll cue you to do that. But now let's find this equal and opposite energy rooting down into the earth, right? This is a big theme in yoga, root and rise. We rise up as we also root down. So from the solar plexus down, you're going to imagine energy pressing down into the earth. You might rock to the left and the right on those sits bones, those ischium for a moment, and then settle into stillness, really feeling the strong foundation of your body pressing down into the earth. And so with eyes closed or gaze softened, we imagine this equal and opposite energetic force in the body, split at the area of the solar plexus, rising through the top of the head and rooting down through those sits bones. We notice in our practice that even in stillness, with the breath and our awareness, there is so much movement in the body for us to notice. All right, let's warm up the body. You might remove your hand from your solar plexus. On an inhale, sweep the arms out and up. Let the gaze rise. As you exhale, palms come together towards the heart center in Anjali Mudra. Let's move with the breath, really pressing out through those fingertips. Let the gaze follows to warm up the neck. And then on the exhale, draw the palms into the heart. With each inhale, we invite big, full breaths down into the body. As you exhale, let the shoulders melt from the ears as you draw the palms to the heart. With each inhale, you might imagine lifting from the solar plexus. With each exhale, you might imagine grounding down into the earth. Not only are we stimulating our vagal nerves with these deep inhales, regulating the body, but we're warming up the shoulders and the neck. Beautiful. One more time, let's sweep the arms out and up, really press through those fingertips. This time, as you exhale, reverse the arms, palms down, press through those fingertips. We're going to do either of two things, either interlace the palms behind your back or grab a strap, belt, or dog leash, and I'll change my trajectory so you can see me from a better angle. You'll grab the strap at the base of your spine. From wherever you are, shimmy the tops of your hands down towards the earth. Squeeze the shoulder blades together as you press the heart forward. I like to imagine sometimes that I'm squeezing a pencil between my shoulder blades. And then once more, breathing and lifting from the solar plexus out the top of the head. Wonderful. Let's warm up the neck further by pressing our chin skyward. And again, we're not letting the head fall back towards the shoulder blades. We're really pressing up through the chin until you feel the muscles along the front of the throat. These are the platysma muscles. Tension and lengthen all through the front body. You might even feel the heart lift a little as the chin presses skyward. On an exhale of your choice, lower your gaze down slowly towards the floor until the forehead hangs heavy. Now, as you hang out here, if you're struggling to really let the neck hang forward, I'm going to invite you to lean the belly and the heart center forward, and then once more drop the neck, squeeze the shoulder blades gently. So we're really trying to relax through the cervical vertebra here in the back of the neck and just feel them soften and lengthen as you continue to open through the heart. And then let's move with the breath. On an inhale of your choice, gaze rises, chin lifts, pressing skyward. As you exhale, lower the gaze on down. Can you relax through the back of the neck? Back and forth at your own pace. Inviting these deep body breaths to guide you in your practice. The deeper the breath, the slower your movement. The slower your movement, the faster the brain and the muscles learn these new patterns of movement. One more time, you'll inhale, pressing the chin skyward. And then as you exhale and lower the gaze, keep it here for a moment. From this point, forehead hanging heavy, you're simply going to turn your gaze over towards the left. Now the ear, the right ear, is dropping down towards the earth. Can we once more open through the heart? Relax that right ear down. You might even imagine this length growing on the right side of the neck here as we let it lengthen and soften. When you're ready, turn your gaze back down to neutral. Relax once more through the back of the spine, and then turning the head using just the head. Let that left ear relax down towards the earth as you gaze over towards your right side. And you might relax the shoulder blades a little bit. This is a lot of heart opening we've been doing. If it feels good and you get that extra stretch, you might squeeze those shoulder blades once more. Pick your level of effort. Whatever your body is asking for, we just meet it there today. All right, dropping the gaze back down to neutral, we'll lift our head back upright. Release the hands from behind your back. Let's come into a tabletop position because time is flying and I want to move into some deep solar plexus openers. From tabletop, I'm going to place the blanket that I was sitting on beneath my knees because I am not here to mess around, right? Bringing myself all the comfort. Now you might plant your hands on the earth. You might plant forearms on blocks. You might plant forearms on the side of your ottoman or your couch. Any of those places, we can do this tabletop and our cat-cow. So from a neutral spine, yet again, we're going to imagine from the area of the solar plexus here, pressing long through the top of the head as we gaze down towards the mat. The neck is neutral with the spine. Now from the solar plexus down, we press out through the tailbone. And maybe you can feel the spine lengthen here. Maybe you just imagine it. Both equally powerful in our practice. On an inhale, drop the belly low. Let the tailbone start to curl up towards the sky. We're focusing on the low body here. Notice how the solar plexus stretches, right? Feel the stretch as the belly drops. You might take a deep breath into the low belly, noticing how much space you have for the breath here. And then when you're ready, we bring the heart and the head into it by simply pressing the chin forward. Just like we did in our seated posture, press the chin forward. You might even press the chin forward and up if that feels good, but we don't want to compress the vertebra in the back of the neck too badly. So focusing on pressing the chin forward, noticing how the heart pulls forward with the chin, belly dropped low. This posture is a powerful posture for releasing physical patterns of chronic tension, anxiety, and depression. We spend a lot of time opening up the front body in these yoga classes, these yoga and somatic classes, because it is powerful. Because we spend all day closing this front line of the body from chin to tailbone. We spend all day closing it by shrinking in, by struggling with our confidence and our self-worth, by feeling like we don't belong. All of that closes up the fascia and the muscles of the front body, and cow offers an opening. And just holding like this, softening into it, breathing and being begins to release those chronic patterns in our body. When you're ready, we're going to press the mat away, let the head drop down low. Begin to curl the tailbone in towards the belly button. You might notice how the vertebra of the low back lengthen here as you curl the tailbone in. And then once more, check in with the head. Let it hang heavy. Give it a little shake. Let it hang loose. We press through the arms. Feel the arms lengthen. And when you press through your arms or your forearms, your shoulder blades begin to separate. You might feel that with your mind's eye here. Really hanging out in cat. On an exhale, tuck that tailbone in towards the belly button just a little more. As you inhale, drop the belly low to cow. Head and the tail come up. Let's move with our breath. Exhale, curl the spine, press the mat away. Head hangs low for cat. Back and forth at a pace that feels good in your body. For a few more rounds of breath, can you explore the fullness of these postures back and forth now that we've mapped it out in detail in your mind's eye? Beautiful. From here, walk the hands back towards the body. We're going to come up onto our shins. We're going to do a modified lightning bolt. Looks like this. Hands on the hips. We invite the thumbs towards one another. Now notice my thumbs don't touch. They're just pressing towards one another until my palms can rest on my low back. From this posture, checking that the tops of the feet are secured onto your mat. We're going to draw our elbows together, press our heart center forward. So elbows draw together, heart center presses forward. Beautiful. On an inhale, we lift from the solar plexus through the top of the head. Each inhale, lifting from that area of the solar plexus. And then if you would like, continuing to press strong to the top of the head, you can squeeze your glutes, squeeze your butt cheeks, and begin to lean backwards. So heart center stays forward, gaze remains neutral. We're pressing to the top of the head, squeezing those elbows. You'll notice the whole front body engages as we lean backward. Beautiful. Only as much or as little as feels good. It only takes a little bit. And then on an exhale, release. Wiggle the body. Let go of any intense sensation. And then we're going to step our left leg forward into Anjaneyasana. So from Anjaneyasana, we find the fullness of this posture by inhaling and sweeping our arms up and back. And so my palms face together here. You can't really see it. My palms face together and my thumbs are gently pressing towards the wall behind me as my 4 fingertips press up towards the sky, right? So there's this up and gentle back motion that's opening up my heart center. And you might remain here lifting from the solar plexus, pressing out the top of the head, pressing out those fingertips, letting the heart melt forward, or you might shift the hips forward, turn this into a bit more of a back bend. It's important that we protect our back body here by pressing through the top of the head, right? It can help to press down through this front left foot to really get that rising sensation from the solar plexus to the top of the head. And then on an exhale, drop the arms down. Let's once more find the palms on our hips. Slide our thumbs closer together, plant the palms, squeeze the shoulder blades. We rise up. This time you might even press your chin skyward, opening up the front body here. Again, we're keeping all of the length in the spine. We don't want to compress the neck vertebra or the low back vertebra by sinking into this. We continue to rise through our strength, squeezing those elbows together. And then on an exhale, bow down low. Plant your hands on the inside of that left foot. If that feels right, switch sides. Anjaneyasana on the right side. On an inhale, when you're ready, Sweep those arms out and up. I want to let you find your power here, pressing through the top of the head, pressing through this front right foot. Let it be a part of your power, right? Rooting down into the earth, letting that rootedness help you rise and lift from the area of the solar plexus all the way through the top of the head. Beautiful. On an exhale, one last time, palms to the low back, squeezing those elbows together, lifting through the heart. You might shift your hips forward and lift the chin if that feels good. But from wherever we are, we're finding length. We're lifting and rising, breathing into this space maybe of the solar plexus chakra with each inhale, feeling it expand and stretch, this equal and opposite directions. And then on an exhale, release this. We're going to come down onto our knees. And this is an optional variation on camel pose. Camel pose is something that we'll be learning together in our foundations class next week. And here's a really cool variation that you can find in many bodies. You might grab a block for this. You might not. So with a block, it looks like this. I'm going to place my block at my lowest setting next to my right ankle. I'm going to plant my palm on that block, and then I'm going to lift my heart center and my pelvis forward, swing my left arm back. So if we don't have a block, it might look like this, placing a hand on the ankle or the heel. And then from here, we lift through the pelvis, through the heart center, feel the stretch in the solar plexus, and then sweep the left arm back. And again, we're not compressing the vertebra, we're pressing through the whole length of our spine here. And then on an exhale, sit the hips back. Woo. All right, and you can use a block at any setting. The highest setting works as well, the lowest setting. But if you would like, we'll play with this modified or a variation on camel by placing the block on the other side, planting that left palm down into the earth, lifting the pelvis up, lifting through the heart, that right arm sweeps up and back. Breathing into the belly, breathing into the body, really feeling that stretch through the heart, through the solar plexus, through the pelvis. And then when you're ready, send it right back down. All right, you can continue to play with that for another minute if you would like. And then when you are ready, we're gonna meet on our backs and bend our knees and plant the pads of our feet. As our practice comes to a close, we cool down the body. So from this place, knees bent, pads of the feet planted. You might even keep that strap nearby. It can help you draw the knees in towards the chest if you like that. But the first thing that we're going to do is settle our body down into the earth. Wherever you are, begin to release any effort in the shoulders and the shoulder blades. Sometimes I give them a wiggle and then invite them to soften and melt. We invite that same melting all the way down through the length of the spine into the hips and the low back. Can you feel the low back nestled against the earth here? The pressure of your body pressing down through the low back. And then let your mind's eye trickle down into the pads of your feet. We notice the sensation of the weight of our legs pressing down through the pads of our feet. Wonderful. And let's find a little sway in the knees. It's just a little left and right sway, not so big. We're going to keep the whole of the pad of each foot planted. We just let the knees gently rock from left to right. And you're looking for a few different things here. We're softening through the pelvis. We're softening through the low back. We're really just allowing the knees to sway and flow like water. And then allow your mind's eye to notice the pressure shift from side to side as the knees gently sway. So often we're taught that we have to go harder, faster, stronger for the body to learn, to change, to heal. And what we're finding through somatics, which is an ancient indigenous practice, and what we found through ancient yoga, which is an ancient South Asian practice, is that softness and repetition with deep awareness from your mind's eye creates an enormous amount of change, healing, and growth for the body. So here we are releasing tension, increasing our mind-body connection, our interoception, just by letting the knees gently sway and feeling the weight shift. Now, I want to invite you to let that sway grow just as big as your body will allow. Now, you'll come up onto the blade edges of your feet to do this, but you might still find that flow like water that rock back and forth. We're loosening the hips and the low back. We're bringing mobilization to the lumbar vertebra just by gently swaying and allowing the body to experience this fully. What an incredible practice. All right, when you're ready, find stillness. Let's move into a deep twist before we end our practice. So a few ways to take this twist. You might walk your heels up towards your glutes and then heel toe the feet together, pressing the inside of your calves together and your knees together. This is one way to do this twist, and the twist will end up in the low spine if you keep the feet planted. If you want to invite the twist from the low spine up into the mid back or the upper back, then you're going to draw your knees up in towards the chest. And this is where a strap can be really handy. If it doesn't feel good to hold your knees up here, and it doesn't for a lot of folk, I've got real short legs. You grab your strap, wrap it around the outside of your shins, and then let your arms help the belly, right? This way we can make room for the breath. We can relax a little bit through the abdomen. Breathe in deep and still hold these knees up here. So from wherever you are, wherever you want to experience this twist, knees in towards the chest or feet planted, we're going to let both knees fall over towards the side. Now, as you do this, you might check in with your spine and your hips, because sometimes it feels good to take the blanket we were sitting on and place it up underneath the outside of your knees. This softens the intensity of that twist and can allow you to melt the upper body a little more deeply, because our goal here is to have both shoulder blades sinking on down towards the mat. And you can help the shoulder blades out by teeing the arms out wide. You could even bend the elbows, palms up into goalpost arms here. Maybe you stack another blanket or a pillow underneath the outside of their knees to bring relief. And then ask yourself, are you feeling like you want to bring the neck and shoulders into this twist? And if your answer is yes, lift your head, turn your gaze the opposite direction of your knees as far as it goes, and then let the head rest back down on the earth. And then we're going to let our awareness settle into the throat and the neck and the jaw, noticing if we can soften and release into this cervical twist any more than we already are, just by letting go. We'll bring that same softness into the shoulders and the shoulder blades, letting them relax and release. You might take a deep breath into the chest and the heart, Notice the sensations that arise, and then as you exhale, let the heart melt, let the belly melt, let the knees soften and grow heavy. If the feet slide a little bit, if your posture becomes imperfect or your shape gets messy, we just let it. We let our bodies feel good and soften into effortlessness here for a moment. Knowing that the more you soften into this, the more mobility and tension release you invite to your body. When you're ready, lift the head, turn the gaze back up towards the ceiling. We're going to rock back onto our backs. And then once more, collect ourselves, whether knees in towards the chest or planted down on the mat. We're going to press the inside of our calves together, our knees together, and then let the knees fall over towards the right. And then once you find yourself here, either supported by a blanket beneath those knees or not, you might lift the head, turn the gaze, settle on back down. And then soften and melt. Where do your arms want to be? Sometimes it feels good for me to rest my palms on my belly or the side of my rib cage, letting the backs of my arms rest fully on the earth. Sometimes it feels good to tee them out wide or stretch them up overhead. Explore your own body for a moment. Give yourself permission to take your time. And then once you find that, spot, begin to settle down into it. Let go, let go, let go. We melt and the body grows heavy. You might feel the fullness of your form pressing down into the earth beneath you. As the earth cradles your body effortlessly here. And as we soften into stillness for a few more breaths, notice, even in our complete stillness, even without moving a finger, our body is constantly in motion. The breath alone brings with it an endless amount of sensation that ebbs and flows. And any time that our mind grows busy, we just invite it into those ever-changing sensations of the body. When you're ready, turn your gaze back up to neutral. Roll onto your back. We'll plant the pads of our feet once more. And then if you'd like, you can extend the legs long, extend the arms long. You might even spread them out wide like a starfish, pressing through the toes and the fingertips, giving yourself a good stretch. And then allow your limbs to soften and melt wherever they are. One last time from head to toe. The body gives way in the most effortless form that we can find here, just sprawled out along the floor. And it's here in this stillness where only the breath brings sensation to the body, that we find ourselves in our final Shavasana, our corpse pose, often said to be the culmination of the entirety of our practice. This effortlessness in the body, this stillness with intention, that we invite the mind down into the stillness of the body. to notice that it's never still, is it? To fully embrace the ebb and the flow of sensation with each inhale and exhale. When you're ready, invite movement back into the body, starting with the fingers and the toes. And this is the part of the practice that's so often rushed, right? We want to wake up, we want to move on to the next thing. But when we rush the reawakening, when we feel rushed, we dysregulate our nervous system. So I invite you to awaken the body as slowly as feels good. Allow every new movement to bring attention to the mind, right? Allow the mind to feel the stretching of your arms and legs, the curling of the toes and fingers. Every movement that you invite into your form to reawaken you is a new adventure for your mind's eye. And then when you're ready, you might bend the knees, roll over onto your side body, and press yourself up into a seat. It's in this place, in whatever posture brings you ease, that will end our practice. An option to bring the palms together at the heart center in Anjali Mudra. As you inhale, you might feel the heart rise to meet your thumbs. As you exhale, you might take a gentle bow in the head. We moved, breathed, and felt into our solar plexus chakra, finding some deep intensity, owning our power, unlocking the courage, the acceptance and deep love of ourselves exactly as we are, little bit by little bit. The more time we spend moving, breathing, twisting into the space of the solar plexus chakra, the more freedom we find. Thank you for practicing with me today. The light and the dark in me see the light and the dark in you. And we are all working on these parts of ourselves, my friend. We are all right there with you. All right.